Hey, Mickey, can
Yes.
I say something about last week before
Yes.
we get into today?
Yes.
And it hit me later on. The promise to David, as far as the kingdom and so forth, that was one of the main talking points of Peter's sermon on the day of Pentecost.
It was.
You know, was that as great as he was, there's another.
Yes. And it's all in the big picture. It's all God's plan from beginning to end, and it's a beautiful story. But yes, it was something right there on Pentecost. It was at the forefront of the message on Pentecost. Anything else from last week? Well, this is a sad lesson. This is the sad heart of David. That's the title of the lesson, a sinful heart. And let's think for a moment about David. He wouldn't kill King Saul, even though King Saul was trying to kill him. He put to death the guy who came and took credit for killing Saul. He had him executed. He put a curse on Joab for killing Abner in revenge for his brother Asahel. He had executed the two men who thought they were doing it for him, murdered Ishbosheth in his bed, remember? And he had them executed. Why in the world would David now commit murder of an innocent man? Why would David be caught up in this adulterous relationship? How did that happen? Why did it happen? That's where I'd like for us to start today. He's had lots of people executed, and now he's killed an innocent man. He had them executed because they killed people without just cause. He put a curse on Joab for taking out his revenge on Abner. And now look what David does. Any thoughts or comments about that as we open the lesson?
Verse 1. It started with him doing something. Actually, in my mind, it was a sin for him not to leave the army. I mean, that was his duty.
He stayed home.
Yep.
Instead of being, and this was not just a little skirmish. They were fighting Ammon, which was a big deal, and went on for several days. The battle went on for several days. Lots of things going on there. He chose to stay home. Frank says it started right there. Okay, other thoughts? Yes, Scott.
I think from the start of him and Bathsheba all the way to the death of her husband was all about lust.
It was, wasn't it? He saw her. He sent for her. He should have stopped at seeing her. He sent for her, and then he sinned with her. And it is all about lust and power, Scott. It's all about lust and power. And there is a powerful lesson for us. Lots of lessons here. That we are weak and that we can find ourselves caught up in sin because of lust. It can happen. It happened to David. It can happen to anyone. Okay, that's a lesson. There's another lesson that it's going to come back on you. The consequences of this type of sin is big. And the consequences for David, as we'll see in this lesson, is huge. His punishment was huge. His life was spared. But the whole family went into total disruption. Frank.
If he had done what Joseph did, he'd have said, uh-oh, and fled to the army and gone out in the fall instead of doing what he did.
He would have turned around. He would have turned his face away, and that would have been the end of it. But he did not. So let's go to page 19.
Vicky?
Yes, sir.
Paula wants to say something.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paula.
I was just going to say, he was very astute at seeing the sin in others,
Yes.
but he could not see the sin in himself.
Yeah. That's,
Covered it up.
thank you. And I should have said it in those words when I talked about how he killed others for murder, for committing murder. He was quick to see that, but now not so quick to see this. Yes, Jim.
One thing leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. I mean, it was just a spiral, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes, and it spiraled way out of control. with all that in mind, and by way of introduction, turn to James chapter 1. James chapter 1. And David's going to read a passage there that sums up, it goes right back to what Scott said about sin. So James chapter 1, verses 14 and 15. 14 and 15. This is the golden text for this lesson. This is today's memory verse, is the way we used to say it. So David's going to read that for us, beginning with verse 14.
But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then, when desire is conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death.
Thank you, David, and that's what happened to David. That's a commentary on what happened. Let's go to our questions and our thoughts there on page 19. And rather than for me to just preach the story and narrate the story, let's just go down the page here. We've already talked about number one. David sent Joab, Frank, and he should have gone with him. 2, he remained in Jerusalem. How did he first see Bathsheba? That's number 3. It's a question. How did it happen that he saw this beautiful woman? He went up on the rooftop at night. You know, David's palace, David's home was probably very elaborate. And so he had access to the rooftop. He went up there maybe for fresh air, maybe to catch a breeze, maybe to look at the stars, we don't know. But he goes up on the rooftop and he sees Bathsheba. She's beautiful and she is doing what? She's bathing. The Bible doesn't tell us if she's on the roof of her residence. Probably not. You know, they didn't have glass windows in those days. Basically, they had square holes. And they would cover those when they needed to with cloth hangings of some sort. We don't know how he saw her, but he saw her taking a bath. And she was beautiful. And there was where it should have stopped. But he saw her and he did other things. Number 4, David inquired about this beautiful woman. That was a big mistake. Who is this woman that I just saw? Big mistake. He inquired about this beautiful woman and was told that she was the daughter of, fill in the blank, Eliam, daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite. We talked last week, the Hittites were not children of Israel. They were enemies of Israel. And we don't know how he became to be in the army. We don't know. Maybe he was captured as a child. Maybe he was captured as a young man. He changed his allegiance. He changed his loyalty, whatever. But we know Uriah he was a good guy. He was a good man. Yes.
Did an AI search on that. There's 2 schools of thought. One was what you just said, and the other one was there was a city there called Hitt, and that he may have been from that city and was actually a Hebrew or a Jew.
Okay. Okay.
So I think most people think that he, when they captured people, they
Right.
let them convert.
Yes.
That was one thing the Jews
Yes.
would allow. But the other school said no, he was from that city.
From the city of Hitt. I haven't heard that. But
Whatever, he was in the army.
yes, and he was loyal.
Yeah.
But he may have been captured as a young man, which would explain his allegiance. It may be that he was born into that situation. But he was a Hittite. Number 4, we just said number 5, David, the king, saw her, sent for her, and sinned with her. Later, number 6, later Bathsheba sent David a message. I am what? With child. Now this tells us that the army was fighting for a period of time. You don't commit adultery and the next morning know that you're pregnant. Okay, so there was some kind of relationship going on here. We don't know the details. We don't know how many days. We don't know how long it took her to realize, uh-oh, what are we going to do now? My husband's gone and I am with child. That sets up quite a dilemma for David.
Hey, Mickey,
Yes.
that brings to mind, I just wonder if they've been fighting for such a long time that the husband's been away, she knows it's not her husband's.
I think she knows that. And that's why I say this didn't happen the morning after.
Right.
This apparently, and I'm reading between the lines here, had gone on for several days. Long enough for her to know that her body's changed.
Right, and what I'm saying is that her husband hadn't been there.
He hasn't been there. And that's why David's first plan was to cover it up.
Right.
Yes. Someone had their hand up here. Yes, L.A.
This is probably a fortified city, so it takes a while to capture a fortified city.
Yes.
You have a little amount of food, water, and then you can attack eventually. So it does take a while for all these things to happen. And then another thing, if you think about it, you're attacking the city of, was it Rabbah and Ammon?
Yes.
Well, if you think about where it is, Ammon, Jordan today, this is a place where they're actually attacking.
A fortified city a long way from home. A fortified city a long way from home. So somewhere in all of this, she is with child. So, what now? David tries 3 things. Well, he tries 2 things, and then the third one he does. What was his first plan?
Get Uriah to sleep with his wife.
And how was he going to do that? Uriah's way off on the battlefield.
Sent for him.
He sent for him to come home. And Uriah came because the king sent for him. Why would David send for him? There had to be a reason. He had to tell Uriah why he wanted to see him. And what was that reason?
Tell me how the war's going.
Tell me how the battle's going. Tell me how Joab's doing. Tell me how the men are doing. How is the battle doing? I'm sure there were other couriers telling him those things. But he wanted Uriah to feel important, and that's why I've called you home. So Uriah gave him a report. And David thought, okay, he'll go home tonight. He'll sleep with his wife. It'll be his child. Case closed. But there was something he didn't count on. What did he not know about Uriah?
He was what David should have been.
He was what David should have been. He didn't know Uriah was that loyal. He didn't know what man of character Uriah was. And so in Uriah's mind, I can't go home. I can't go home and sleep in my bed. I can't go home and be with my wife. I can't go home and eat good home cooking. I can't do that because my comrades and Joab are out in the field fighting. And he even says the ark is in a tent. The ark of God is in a tent. How can I do this? How can I go? So where did he sleep that night? Right outside on the doorstep where some of the servants were sleeping. That's where Uriah spent the night. So, plan A failed. He was there more than one day. He was there a couple of days. So David had a second plan. And what was that? Get him drunk. First, feed him. Let's fill his stomach. Let's feed him. Let's get him drunk. Let's make merry. Let's throw a party of some sort. We don't know the details here, but he fed him and got him drunk, assuming now he'll go home. Second plan was that he would go home and the child would be seen as his. Again, what did Uriah do? He still did not go home. A fly in the ointment is this guy.
You wonder if Bathsheba knew he was there. You'd think she would.
It's a good question. It's a good question. We don't know how far Bathsheba lived away. We don't know how much time she had spent in the residence of David. These are enduring questions. Yes, Scott?
It'd be close if David was looking at her on top of his roof.
It's had to be within for him to see a beautiful woman. So, good question, Doug. Don't have an
The reason I
answer.
say that is because, if she knew about it, she could probably, you know how most wives are. You want to make your wife happy. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm coming.
Yeah.
Well, they were besieging the city, so that army was gone for a while. It takes a while to take a city.
Yeah.
They could have been gone 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, we don't know the exact timeline long enough. Who knows? She may have been ready to show physically. It could be that far along. That things are developing that fast. We just don't know. But we know this about Uriah. He wouldn't go home. Twice he wouldn't go home.
He was more righteous than David.
He was righteous. Uriah is the hero in this story. He is the hero in this story. Let's go back to Bathsheba. Was Bathsheba an evil person?
I don't think so.
I don't get that picture. God allowed her, when all this is over, to give birth to a son named Solomon. From all of that, I gleaned that Bathsheba was not a bad person, but what are you going to do when the king sends for you?
She didn't really have a choice in this.
Did she have a choice? I don't think she had a choice. He didn't send for her with a text. He didn't send for her with a phone call. He didn't personally go knock on the door. There were men who went and got her. What choice did she have? And she goes and she lies with the king and she ends up in a relationship with him. Folks, this happens every day in America. Men in positions of power and women who feel like they are kind of trapped. And they get caught up in the same kinds of things.
Well, he had the power of life and death over her.
Absolutely.
He got mad because she wouldn't come.
And she was just a woman.
She was just a woman. And another important part of this lesson is she mourned for her husband. She mourned. Did she know David had him killed? Probably not. Probably not. She probably thought he died a gallant death in battle, but she mourned for him. But she did become David's wife. So there's a lot of things we don't know here. We don't know if she did that out of duty or being coerced or if she really fell in love with David. We don't know all of that. We just don't. We do know that she had a second son after this whose name was Solomon. David's plans aren't working, so plan C is what? Have him killed how?
Into the front and back away from him so that he's on his own.
Have him killed in a very devious way. Don't have an assassin go kill him. Don't pick out a soldier to go kill him one-on-one in the nighttime where nobody knows, well, what happened to Uriah? Well, we found him dead this morning. That's not the way it happened. He actually sent instructions to Joab. Who carried those instructions? He carried his own death sentence. Why didn't he open it and read it? Loyalty to his king. You don't read a dispatch. Those of you who have been in the military know that. The couriers don't read the mail. You don't do that. You deliver. You don't read it. He delivered his own death warrant. So he takes it to Joab. And Joab's instructions are what? Put him where? Put him up to the front where he will be killed. What's the difference in that and hiring an assassin or commanding an assassin to go kill him? What's the difference? It's still murder. It's one of my... That's a line from one of my favorite movies. It's still murder. It's still murder. He fixed it so he would die. Put him out front, and not only that, not only are we going to put him up front, but we're going to do what? We're going to have a reason to withdraw so that he for sure gets killed.
And making a hero over a martyr.
Yeah. And so the messenger comes back. And Joab was crafty, and Joab said, now if he asks you why we were that close to the fortification, If he asks you why we had archers going that close, and he reminds him of the story, which it's not a Bible story except here, where the woman threw a stone down and killed a soldier, a famous soldier, from the wall because he got too close. And so in preparation for that, Joab said, now if he asks you all these questions and he's drilling you about how this happened, just say what? Just tell him what? Uriah is dead. Just tell him Uriah the Hittite is dead. What a horrible story. How often does this happen in our country? I don't know about you, but I've just about quit watching television except for sports and true crime stories. I watch Dateline. I watch 48 Hours. I watch 2020. I even watch the reruns because we'll go to one and we'll know it's a repeat. And I'll say, Pat, do you remember? No, I don't really remember how it happened. I don't either, but I know we watched it because I recognize his face, I recognize her face, I recognize the policeman, but I don't really know where this is going. So we watch it again. How many of those stories involve adultery and murder? A lot of them do. Spouses get killed for this very reason. It happens a lot. Horrible stories. You can just watch them all day. Go on demand and you can watch them for weeks. The same kind of story. Human nature hasn't really changed a whole lot. So go back to the start of our lesson. Why did David do it? Scott, say it again. He did it because of lust. Passion. Desire. Seduction. Physical satisfaction, beauty, all of that caused him to do it. And it was bad. Yes?
That's when we go back to your reading from James. You know, we're all going to be enticed, by different things. It's what happens next.
Absolutely. And what are we going to do about that enticement? This happens in the church. We're not immune. I don't know that I've ever known of a case of murder in the church, but I've certainly known of churches almost torn up over adultery. I even know of a couple of cases where the minister was caught up in adultery with a member's wife. And that's bad, folks, but it happens. It happens. And people want to kind of look, it reminds me of the sin in 1 Corinthians. Where the church at Corinth kind of looked the other way when the man had this adulterous relationship. They kind of just looked the other way. In all of this, God was what? He was very displeased. Now let's go to page 20. Why was it David put to death? Leviticus 20, adultery is a capital offense by stoning. David wasn't put to death. The law condemns him to death on 2 counts. The law condemned him to death for adultery. The law condemned him to death for murder. Why was David not put to death?
Because God chose not to have him killed.
God, in the whole vast scheme of things, knows the heart of David. Bible tells us he had a heart after God's own heart. A man after God's own heart. That's one reason. That's one reason in God's overall plan, yes. But there's another reason why he wasn't put to death. What did the law require for this death sentence?
Both partners were supposed to be stoned.
But what did the law require for the stoning to occur?
2 witnesses.
2 witnesses. There weren't 2 witnesses. And if they weren't going to come forward. But there weren't 2 witnesses, you see. What did Jesus tell the woman caught in adultery after he calmed the killing that was about to happen? And he talked to her, he said, "Woman, where are your accusers?" They weren't doing that for the right reason. It wasn't legally being done in the first place. And people get confused about that story. He didn't condone her sin. He told her to go and do what? Don't do it again. Go and sin no more. He said, "Neither do I condemn you." David wasn't executed for a lot of reasons, Frank. God's overall plan. David also wasn't executed because it wouldn't have been legal without 2 witnesses where he was caught. That's why. Yes.
And I don't know if this is an exception or whatever, but he immediately repented. And, you know, in 2 Samuel 12:13, so David said to Nathan, "I have sinned against the Lord." And Nathan said to David, "The Lord has put away your sin. You shall not die." You know, but then he obviously said that.
And he didn't die. But 3 different ways he was punished. Severely punished. Three different ways. How much time do we have? Oh, we got a clock. I didn't know that. I didn't know I had a clock. I could look at the clock. I've been counting. Okay, we have plenty of time to study together the next steps here. It's a beautiful thing that Nathan did. God told Nathan to go speak to David. At this point, David, he's got a hard heart. He's committed a horrible sin. Horrible sin. But he doesn't get it yet. So this is a beautiful story. Nathan goes to David and tells him a story about 2 men. Who were these 2 men? One was a rich man. The other was a poor man. It's only God can come up with this. And let's back up a minute. Only a Bible that's truly inspired by God would tell this story in the first place. This makes David look pretty bad. Only God and only the truth of the Bible. It's one of the greatest testimonies to Scripture. Is the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's all there for us to study and to learn from. 2 men. One was rich, the other was poor. The poor man had what? He had a little ewe lamb. A little ewe lamb. Was he growing it to eat? It was like the family what? It was the family pet. It ate at their table. Now, I never had a goat or a sheep for a pet. I've smelled a few goats and I wouldn't want one in my house, but this was a little sheep. I will say this, there's not much cuter in the world than a baby goat or a baby sheep. They are absolutely adorable.
And a baby pig.
A baby pig is adorable. Yeah, I could tell you some stories.
Baby critters are cute.
They are cute. Look at the little lion cubs, you know. Oh, I'd love to have one of those till he kills me. But they loved this little ewe lamb. It's all they had. So what happens to the ewe lamb? David, say it out loud.
The rich man took it and killed it.
And why did the rich man take it and have it killed and dressed?
He had a visitor.
Feed the visitor.
He had company. He had company. And instead of going and taking one of his animals from his herd, he took the little ewe lamb from the poor man and had it killed and dressed. David hears this story, and how did he react? He was angry. He was furious. He said, surely this man should be killed. Surely this man should die. And not only that, but he said this man should die and return fourfold. Make restitution fourfold. Not 1 sheep, but 4. And, by the way, he should die. And one of the most powerful statements in the whole Bible, as soon as David said this, Nathan said what? You are the man. And Doug, that's when he repented. That's when he was sorrowful. You are the man. What a moment. What a light bulb moment that must have been. The king in all his glory, the king in all his power, the king who had pulled all these strings, who had had a good man killed, realizes, I am the man. What a story. Yes.
Can I read these few verses?
Yes, please do.
Okay. 2 Samuel 12:7. Then Nathan said to David, you are the man. Thus says the Lord God of Israel, I anointed you king over Israel, and I delivered you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your keeping, and gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if that had been too little, I also would have given you much more. Why have you despised the commandment of the Lord to do evil in his sight?
Yeah, and that's beautiful also. God says in a very, very judicial way, look what I've done for you. And I would have done more. But now, look what you have done to me, to my name. And that brings us to the fill-in-the-blank questions. Look at number 5 on page 20. God's punishment. There's 3 phases of this punishment. God's punishment is revealed. Now therefore, the what? The sword shall never. What? Fill in the blank. It'll never depart from your house because you have despised me. What does that mean? The sword will never depart from his house.
It'll be turmoil.
Total chaos. Total chaos. And our next lesson is going to be about that. It's 8 chapters of total chaos. 8 chapters. And we're going to go through those 8 chapters next week, step by step. With that in mind, look at the introduction to next week's lesson. Look at page 21. This lesson for next week is a broken heart. And just look at the note there at the top. These 8 chapters are grouped into one lesson, so we will discuss the highlights from each chapter. Remember what God, through Nathan, told David would happen as a result of the sin with Bathsheba and Uriah. Here's what we're going to be looking at next week. We read stories of great violence, murder, not just Uriah's murder, there's going to be more murder, family dysfunction, that's to put it mildly, sexual depravity, that's to put it mildly, intrigue, lying, conspiracies, foolishness, hatred, and more. All of this in the next 8 chapters. It's going to get bad. That was his punishment. But that wasn't all. Let's read on and go back to our lesson, fill in the blank. Further punishment. What further punishment did God pronounce? Not just the sword's going to be never depart from your family, but what else?
He's going to lose wives.
He's going to lose wives publicly. He said, you did this sin with Bathsheba in private, but now, because you've done this, some of your wives are going to be taken in the same way, but it's going to be done openly, not behind closed doors. That's going to shame him. He said, you're going to have adversity. What is adversity?
Just things going bad all the time.
You're just going to have all kinds of trouble. All kinds of trouble in your house because of what you've done. So that brings us back. You know, we sing in the song, Farther Along, We'll Understand. And a part of that song is that those who do evil seem to prosper. I can't sing it for you, but you remember the verses. We struggle with that sometimes. We do. We struggle with people who are bad seeming to have the nicer car, the nicer house, all the luck that money brings. But we don't really understand and know that God's wrath is involved in the lives of people who are caught up in sin. It is. It's there. And study the stories of everybody that's ever won the lottery. Some of them became millionaires, some even billionaires. Most of them take the lump sum, so it's millions and millions and millions of dollars. How many of those have a good life?
Not many.
I don't know if I don't know if there's a documented case where somebody came into all of that and didn't suffer in all kinds of ways.
It's ill-gotten gain.
Yeah, it is. And so, there's the third punishment. And not only is all this going to happen, but this baby will die. And when we start next week's lesson, we want to talk about the death after 7 days of this baby and how David responded and how his behavior changed when the child was dead as it was the 7 days the child was sick. It's very profound, the change, and there's a reason for that. And David makes a great statement. The child can't come to me, but I can go to him. And then we're going to get into Amnon, Absalom, Jonadab, and all this violence and all this chaos and dysfunction, all because of David and Bathsheba. It is all related to this. Thank you for suffering through another class. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.